Greetings folks, Anilahorm here. In the previous video for this channel, I mentioned that I will be bringing more content regarding the CV-Rework in World of Warships and its impact on surface vessels. And this is the first in a few videos that I've got planned and lined up. We are featuring today Jimijaz in the Tier 5 U.S. Navy destroyer, the USS Nicholas. He is in a domination match on New Dawn. There are 2 Tier 4 aircraft carriers for each team, and there are also quite a few cruisers on each team, so this is going to be potentially a pretty big challenge for most any destroyer. Jim maximizes his AA on his Nicholas with BFT, AFT, and manual AA, and he takes the AA guns modification 1 in slot 3, and we are definitely going to see in this match how effective the AA can be on the USS Nicholas. Jim is starting his adventure by moving to the Bravo cap, and he's going to come under attack from the opposing aircraft carriers. Going to pop his defensive fire here, and I think in this attack he's actually going to chew up 9 airplanes. Now, a couple of observations around the new carrier gameplay that we can see here, or is illustrated here by this attack, is first is one of the common observations and frankly complaints by surface ship players with the new carrier gameplay is that the carrier planes were very quick and could get to spot the opposing team very quickly, including destroyers, much faster than we saw with the old carrier gameplay. And this was particularly, or has been particularly frustrating, I think, for destroyer players, because it means that they are getting detected much more quickly, and this is discouraging them from being able to approach objectives or spot or whatnot. There have been a couple of tweaks that have been made to make the destroyers a little less vulnerable to spotting and attacks early on in a match, so that will help to some extent. But here with Jim and the Nicholas, it's not so much of a concern. He's smoked up here not to really defend himself against the airplane attacks, but really more to keep himself hidden from opposing gunfire from the opposing ships. The other observation here is that unlike the old carrier gameplay where shooting down planes was a fairly linear process, and you would see sort of the planes get shot down at a regular interval as they approached you. Now the airplanes have hit points, and Jim has just gotten contested here, and he's going to put some fire on this opposing Jimijaz that's moved into the Bravo cap. But as airplanes fly around you, they have hit points, and so you have to have some sort of sustained damage that you're doing to the airplanes before you actually start shooting them down. So even if they are within your aura for a few seconds, you won't necessarily start shooting down planes right away, but the longer they stay in your AA aura, the more rapidly they will be shot down. And again, that's part of the reason that they were in Jim's aura initially, these first 9 planes that he shot down. And then once they just stuck around, Jim was able to get enough damage on them to be able to shoot down 9 airplanes after that first attack. Jim won't see airplanes again here for a few minutes as he's focusing on getting down this Jimijaz, and also is going to try to take the Bravo cap. I think the opposing carriers either decide to focus on their targets, or they decided that Jim was not a smart target for them to try to go after, given the number of airplanes that were shot down. But either way, Jim right now is trying to focus on getting the Jimijaz down. His gunfire is not going to finish off the Jimijaz, but this torpedo that you just saw is going to finish off the destroyer, and Jim is going to get his first kill for the game. Jim would like to go into Bravo and take it, but with this opposing Phoenix there, and the Phoenix can run hydroacoustic search, Jim doesn't want to go into the cap. He doesn't have enough close support and enough support in terms of ships, though he does have this allied Omaha that's on the sort of the northeast side of Bravo that has been supporting him out at the cap. Jim will later on ping on the map once he sees that Bravo is being contested or taken by the opposing team. and asked for the Allied carriers to spot the cruiser so that we could get some fire on him and get him out of the match, or at least defend the cap. The Allied team is now working with a 2-ship deficit. They've lost quite a few ships in the southern flank where the majority of the opposing team is, and although the Allied team is very strong in the north, and they've sunk a couple of ships on that side up by Alpha, and we will take the Alpha cap. Now Jim did ping on the map and asked for some spotting on this Phoenix. He's calling target on the cruiser that has moved into the cap. Try to get some cap resets here to delay their advance on taking that cap. In fact, it looks like the Allied Langley was able to get a successful strike on the Phoenix to reset the cap. The Allied team is still working. They did sink one more ship, so they're working with a 1-ship deficit, and they will sink another opposing ship here fairly soon to even up the ship count. But Jim right now is focused on wanting to get this Phoenix unseated from the Bravo cap, because the Phoenix has no support on his side. He's out here alone, but Jim has just activated his smoke screen to try to get some fire on here. I think he was hoping that the carriers would keep the cruiser lit up so that he could get more cap resets, and in fact the carriers do come back and light up the Phoenix, and Jim is able to get some more fire on them. The Allied team has, like I mentioned, even up the ship count, so the Allied team has a slim point advantage right now because they do have A and have been getting they do have the Alpha cap, and they have been getting points from the Alpha cap, and the opposing team has only just now secured their first cap at Charlie. The opposing Phoenix here is almost down, and he is coming under some fire from, obviously from Jim, but also from a couple of battleships that are on the Allied battleships, that are coming down from the Alpha cap. The Phoenix, interestingly, was able to successfully hit Jim in the smoke a couple of times, even after his initial gunfire was a little bit suspect earlier on, but none the worse for wear. Jim is able to survive the attack, and is now that the Bravo cap has been freed up and the Allied team has a 1-ship advantage, Jim's going to move into the Bravo cap to help secure that. So the Nicholas is a really strong destroyer for this tier. It has reasonably good concealment at 5.8 kilometers. It has good guns. Although the rearmost gun, actually you need to give a lot of side in order to get the fourth gun into action. The forward 3 guns, you don't need to actually have it show that too much side in order to get them into play. But it is a good gunship at this tier. The torpedo range is 5.5 kilometers, and with a concealment of 5.8, you can't do traditional stealth torping. Although if you have an opposing ship or a target that is sailing toward you, you can send torpedoes when the ship is beyond 5.8 kilometers from you, and then you can stay in concealment and basically have the opposing ship sail into the torpedoes that you send. So you do have a mechanic to be able to stealth torp. It does take a little bit of practice and learning and situational, knowing the situations when you can do it. But otherwise, the Nicholas is a very strong ship. Jim is just about to cap the Bravo cap here. And a lot of people find that they're a little bit disappointed in the Farragut, which is the Tier 6 American destroyer, after they play the Nicholas, because the Nicholas actually has a pretty considerable amount of health at 13,100 hit points for a Tier 5 destroyer, and that's even without survivability expert. And because the Farragut doesn't have too much more health. In fact, if I recall correctly, it might even be a little bit less than the Nicholas. Farragut does have slightly better torpedo range, but even then, the Farragut is not able to stealth torpedo like the like the Mahan or the higher tier American destroyers. Now, Jim is gonna come under attack here again by the opposing aircraft carriers. So this is the next attack that he's having to deal with. And again, you can see there that they were able to get an attack off before he starts shooting down a considerable number of planes. But now that they've stayed in his aura for a reasonable amount of time, or even a relatively short amount of time, he's already chewed up 11 planes, and I think he's going to get a few more here before they either completely are all shut down or they fly away. Jim is now up to 21 plane kills. One other observation with the new carrier gameplay is that the AA related achievements, the AA Defense Expert and the Clear Skies achievement or King of the Air achievement no longer exist in the game right now. I don't know whether Wargaming has intention to bring either of those or something comparable back to the game. But for the time being, because carriers effectively have unlimited planes, although in reality there's only so many planes that they can fly within a given time span. These two achievements and because there's no more strafing, and so where carriers can focus fighter groups on squadrons of opposing aircraft, these two achievements no longer exist. Jim looked to get a torpedo send on the opposing Oktyabrskaya Revolucja that has been moving to the Bravo cap, but between attention from the Allied carriers as well as from the couple of battleships that have wound their way down from Alpha, that Revolucja is about to go down. So Jim is looking to just keep things spotted here and also act as a deterrent towards any of the opposing ships that might be trying to move north from Charlie and put some pressure on his Allied carriers. Does look like the Revolucja has, in fact, yeah, he has moved into Bravo, but he has very little health left. And in fact, it also looks like he may be burning or flooding as his health is ticking down. And there he goes from the Allied Texas. Jim has spotted, or the aircraft carriers, or at least one of them, the Langley, has been spotted. The Hosho was last seen at the Bravo 3 quadrant, but I also happen to know that carrier has moved. So the opposing carriers have been aware enough to move with their fleet so that they don't sort of stay in one area and then get ambushed and not be able to get out of trouble. At this point, the Allied team has a very sizable lead. They have a 2-ship advantage. They hold 2 caps to the opposing team's 1, and they have roughly a 350 point advantage over the opposing team. In fact, the opposing Koenig is almost down, and it looks like I think Jim or one of his allies called target, and our allied Congo is able to take out the Koenig. So now the Allied team is closing in on a 500 point advantage. At this point, short of doing anything really stupid, the Allied team has got this pretty well locked up. Now, I mentioned earlier that I wanted to showcase games that demonstrate the influence of carriers on surface ships. And, Jim so far has shot down 21 planes, but he's got quite a few more to shoot down here before this game is out. He's closing in on where he suspects the opposing carriers are. Jim is definitely not one to go carrier hunting because that's generally a terrible tactic in terms of not playing to the objective. But since the Allied team has such a strong both position and both a position on the map as well as hold on caps, it is certainly okay at this point for Jim to go and find these carriers and help take them out. There are no opposing destroyers at this point that Jim has to defend against. All of the opposing ships are easily spotted, either by surface ships or by airplanes. So Jim is going to come out here and put some pressure on these opposing carriers. Opposing carriers obviously are going to be sending planes here to try to defend themselves. And Jim has activated his defensive fire. Going to send out a couple sets of torpedoes on the opposing Langley. And he's going to sink the Langley here in short order for a devastating strike. Jim has shot down 6, 7 more planes. Going to get any more in this sweep? 8. Jim is up to 29 plane kills as he closes in on the Hosho. And again, the Hosho at this point is going to be focusing Jim as Jim closes in for the kill on this other carrier. Jim is now starting to shoot down more planes as they fly in his aura. He doesn't have defensive fire at this point, but he doesn't really need it. Again, the Nicholas has very strong AA for this tier, and with the build that Jim has, he's having no difficulty shooting down these planes, even without defensive fire. And he's, again, going to sink the other opposing carrier and move into Charlie Cap. Use his last smoke here, get himself into some concealment as he continues to chew up more planes. He's up to almost 40 right now, 39, and he's going to have a few more planes. So one of the things that has happened with the new carrier gameplay is that the carrier players, even after, oh, that was a very nice shot by the opposing Congo to almost finish off Jim. One of the things that has come with the new carrier gameplay is the opposing carrier players retain control of their planes even after their ship goes down. So anything that's still in the sky, they can still fly around for the time being. So Jim's team won quite handedly, and Jim is going to come in top XP, earning well over 2,000 base XP. That's a combination of shooting down 43 planes in addition to sinking 3 ships and taking at least 1 cap and contesting another. So very good demonstration of the capabilities, AA capabilities of the ship, as well as the DPM capabilities of this destroyer. So I certainly hope you enjoyed the replay and the commentary. Please do leave your comments below. And as always, we hope to see you out there, and we wish you happy sailing.